Very welcome along to Trader Chat on the eve of the Punchestown Festival with Johnny Ward and Flynn Goward. An exciting time to be alive. We've had some good weather in Ireland this week. We have the end of the national hunt season, which brings us on to the Guineas coming up next weekend. So much going on the racing front. And Flynn, we're going to start on the racing front. We had Guineas winning, we had Frodon winning at Sandown on Saturday. Was it a busy day for the firm? And actually, how is business at the moment, considering we're in that kind of slight lull between the end of the jump season and the start of the flat?
It's a really weird time of year, and obviously we're talking about the weather improving. You'll see, Johnny, I've got horrible sunburn going on.
Yeah.
I had a round of golf yesterday, and the wind absolutely caught me out. So I come in this morning, I've had a terrible night's sleep. You can see the sunburn there; it's no good. But either way, we crack on. But in terms of time of year, it's a weird time of year because we've got the end of the flat and also the end of the jump. And then we're moving into the flat season. There's still some really top quality jumps. Obviously, we've got Punchestown starting tomorrow. Then we've got the Guineas at the weekend. So to be honest, in terms of the time of year, it is pretty quiet for us. We just like it to start picking up. But when the classics start at the start of May, obviously this weekend, and then we just move on from there, it does tend to get a lot busier from that aspect. But we still did see some action at the weekend. We still had some fantastic races and fantastic horses coming out. So starting at Sandown on Saturday, the Bet365 Gold Cup Handicap Chase was won by Potterman, probably the unlikely winner and probably the most undeserved winner, you'd say, from the finish. Do you think it was the right outcome in terms of the lesser of the law when they threw the winner out, Johnny, and Rillo?
It's just these, yeah. I honestly don't know the solution, and I don't know if there is a perfect solution in terms of what country you're in for races like this. I don't know what you made of it. I didn't see the betting afterwards in terms of did they expect this to happen or whatever. So I'm slightly on the fence.
Well, in terms of the machine, it was flip-flopping between Potterman and Rillo in terms of who was going to keep the race or was it going to go to Potterman. I guess what the real talking point is that they couldn't promote Third Horse, which was the horse that was probably going to win the race.
That's where the rules are problematic, obviously.
Yeah. So I think that's probably what needs looking at because he didn't finish second, even though he was by far the most likely winner. Potterman was never going to get to a Rillo, I don't think. So I think he was a big baby in front of Rillo. I think it was the right decision to demote him. It's just whether the rules are kind of fit for purpose and whether the one that was impacted the most by the swerving of Rillo really coming into Kitty's light, the fact that they couldn't promote Kitty's light. So I think that's the real talking point and the real issue there. In terms of the result for us, Rillo was actually the worst result in the book by far. So him being thrown out wasn't the worst result for us. Although we do pay first past post up to £200 a your stake. So if you were one of those punters and bet for £200 or less, you did still get your money first past the post on Rillo. Plan of Attack was the only other loser in the book. He's probably one of the worst jumpers I've ever seen. Plan of Attack. He really is horrific. But he was just travelling really, really well. So if they can find a race for him and maybe stick him back overhead, I think he'll win races. And even the super Rachel Blackmore couldn't get into jump. So if she can't do it, then nobody can at the moment anyway. So I'm sure he will have a race with him at some point. Potterman and Kitty's Light were both good results for us. So if either one of them were to win, which obviously Potterman did, then it was a fine result for us in the book. Also looking at Sandown on Saturday, the celebration chase also went our way. Guineas was a great result, even though he was quite popular in the market. He was about 8-1 in the morning and went off a 13-2 shot. So Royal was the big loser, the unlucky horse in the champion chase. He ran a really good race, but was into third. And obviously, Altior was nibbled a bit, and he ran a fantastic race. You'd think he'll come back next season. You can't see him being retired off the back of that. But a real good return to form for him. I say a return to form. It's the only time he's run this season, isn't it? So he went well anyway, and that's fantastic to see.
It'd be interesting for Punchestown, just with the view to put the kettle on, obviously. No, she's a mare that I kind of can't get my head around anyway, but obviously So Royale had a disaster of a time with at Cheltenham. Just in relation to, I personally think Nubia Negra is very good valued in the champion chase at Punchestown, but you do slightly worry about that form at Cheltenham to a degree, I guess.
Yeah. I think that when you look at put the kettle on for the weekend, you just have to write it off completely. I think that she's going to prove that over the years, when she comes back there more and more, that Cheltenham is her track.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm not sure how good that champion chase is. They finish in a bunch. I don't really know what happened with Shakan Portsvar. He did look the real class act, even though he didn't go and kind of finish the race off there. But I just wouldn't think a huge amount of that champion chase, to be honest. But it's a real weird time to be punting at the moment because when you've got hard races and horses being kept fresh. I mean, I found that actually impossible with a lot of punters because you just don't know how much Cheltenham would have taken out of them, or if it didn't. We saw with some horses it did, and then some horses didn't. It's a real tough time to be a punter, and I think that's why it's a little bit quieter this time of year compared to normal.
Yeah, just with Nubi Negra, he's had 2 runs this season, obviously. He's very, very fresh coming in, and I think it's a question of people almost looking down on his form. He did beat Altior comprehensively. I don't think there's anything wrong with that form, and I actually don't think the race is run to suit him at Cheltenham. He still finished second, so I don't know if you're looking into that race the first day at Punchestown. I think there's a massive case to be made for him, but hopefully we'll get to Punchestown in due course anyway.
We will. Well, there you go. You have it. Johnny Ward is all over Nubi Negra at Punchestown this week.
Who would have thought it? Yeah, an English trained horse after the Irish battering. But I just think he's underrated. He's actually a horse I kind of followed as a 4-year-old herder because there was I can't remember exactly the context, but there was obviously word from Skeltons about him. But I think this year he's just developed into a very good horse, and he travels well in his races. And obviously with Allaho and First Flow in the race, I just think it's going to be completely run to suit him. And Shackleford Swall will probably be ridden handier as well, so he'll be just able to lob away and hopefully pick up the pieces.
Yeah, I just think it's an impossible race to look at. There's so many different angles there. How's Allaho going to go, dropping the trip, etc. So it's a real hard race to start, but I do see your point there completely about Nubi Negra. Looking just at a couple more races from Sandown quickly on Saturday over the jumps. Frodon was all the rage in the Oaksey Chase. What a performance from him and the beloved Brian Frost. Stayed on down his chin, Mr. Fisher. Mr. Fisher went 104 after jumping the last one.
Wow.
Really fair. But still got beat, just didn't see out this race like Frodon did. In the select hurdle, which is kind of the last feature from Sandown on Saturday, You Never Call was the worst result in the book by far, and that was certainly a race for the punters there. So that's just Sandown on Saturday. Just want to touch on a couple of races on Friday, but road to the flat stuff now. That was also at Sandown as well. Palace Pier was a decisive winner of the Bet365 mile. I thought he was really impressive, to be honest. First run back, had race fit rivals to deal with there, and he put them duly to the sword. Went off 4 to 11, and as expected was the only loser in the race for us, so it was a bad result for us there. Now 7 to 4 to win the Queen and the Royal Ascot, so if you wanted to get Royal Ascot off to a Ferrari 7 to 4 with us here at Star Sports. And just quickly touching on the Gordon Richards Stakes, which is won by the favourite Walk-On League, was actually a decent result in the book because Highest Ground was probably the best backed horse there. So those are Sandown for the 2 days, Friday and Saturday. There wasn't a huge amount more racing to talk about, but we did just want to quickly touch on Epsom. We had the Blue Ribbon, which was a classic trial there on the Tuesday. Werco is now 16 to 1 for the Derby after winning that trial. It's not normally the best trial for the Derby, one of these early ones, but it's one to take note of anyway. In terms of the Derby, we've seen money for Van Gogh this week. Later 16 to 1, 10 to 1, now an 8 to 1 shot. I'm not sure if you've got any word about Van Gogh or whether you have any thoughts on him, Johnny. That's me just asking you off the cuff there, if there's been any word about him over that side of the Irish Sea.
I haven't actually spoken to Aidan in I don't know when, and it's been one of those kind of strange times as a journalist where I'm not really racing, to be honest. This Van Gogh is obviously interesting. He's by American Pharaoh, so you're looking at the likes of High Definition, maybe Wembley, and obviously Balcho Ballet, who'd be the Galileo bred horses, who'd be the more obvious kind of types. But he's obviously he's out of Imagine as well. He's a fascinating pedigree, but I haven't spoken to Aidan, I'd say, in a couple of months, so I'm not getting. I'm even not that I'd obviously say, oh, tell me what's going to win the Derby, but I haven't heard much at all, so I'm no use to you whatsoever, actually.
Okay, no problem at all. Yeah. It's always worth asking. It's always worth asking with a man with your connections.
Well, this is it. Yeah, this is it. Although my connections are dwindling. I'm not meeting people anymore. It's like maybe I should be just busier on WhatsApping trainers and seeing what's going on there. But in any event,
yes, scheduling a few Zoom calls and stuff. We need to be inside scoop, Johnny. Just also on the Derby, whilst we're talking about it, High Definition obviously still your 3 to 1 favourite there. Obviously, you just mentioned High Definition. And whilst we're on the classics, just a quick Newmarket update. We've obviously got Newmarket this weekend, and while we're talking about racing, the 2,000 and the 1,000 Guineas, the first classics of the year. Once they get going, it really starts to come thick and fast, doesn't it? Before you know it, you're onto the Derby at the start of June. In terms of the 2,000 Guineas, we spoke the other week, Johnny, and I said that we'd laid St Mark's Basilica for a decent sum. Still a very big loser for us after that big bet. We've laid him each way at 5 to 1. One Ruler is now also a loser in the book. Really peculiar kind of gamble on One Ruler because it hasn't run much, and it's just been shorting it off the back of kind of just market confidence and speculation. A very decent bet we've laid at 9 to 2, so we've laid it at the bottom of the market, which is always what we want to see. Obviously, we'll could go shorter than it is, but it's the bottom of the market now, so we've laid it shallow. We did lay it as big as 20 to 1 back in March with kind of smallish amounts, so we managed to get rid of that price and miss the move, and then we've laid the decent bet at 92, which isn't the worst thing to see. Mutasabek has been the other one that's a small loser in the book. That's been confirmed this morning to go for the race. That won the trial very recently. We laid a decent bet there at 10 to 1. That's now 7 to 1. Wembley is 11 to 2 with us, and he's probably been the one that's been a bit friendless. We've not been able to lay Wembley, so Wembley would be a good winner in the book. It'll be some Mark Basilica is definitely the one that we want beat for the anti-post book.
How's Thunder Moon looking? Got to mention our
On the Moon looks fine for us.
Yeah, our good buddy Jordan, who's been on about this horse since time immemorial, really, probably already counting his each way winnings in the race.
Yeah, he probably is. He does like a little anti-post play on Jordan.
He does. It's apt for me to get like a little text of a Saturday evening. What's going on? What are you hearing? He likes to think ahead.
He does indeed, and he's a very good anti-post punter, and he's obviously one of our horse racing traders here. You'll speak to on the phones if you do call up and have a bet. So do ask Jordan for his anti-post selections. He'll give you the inside scoop from him anyway. But Wembley and Thunder Moon will be the ones that we haven't laid. So Mark Basilica, one ruler, and Mutasabek will be the ones which we won't want to be winning, but it could all change come the day. In terms of the 1,000 guineas, it's been less eventful than the 2,000, but pretty gorgeous at 9 to 2, and Santa Barbara at 6 to 4 and losers in the book. Santa Barbara, the huge gamble for the 1,000 guineas after the Ape O'Brien stable tour that Kevin Blake did. Everybody seemed to latch on to the words when he was talking about it. And even when Ryan Moore did the podcast very recently, I heard him talking about Santa Barbara. It's just like she's just a completely different beast to anything else they have in Ballydoyle, which speaks absolute volumes. So anything other than the head of the market in the 1,000 guineas will be a decent result for us there. So that's just a spin through the classics of where we're currently at. We've also got the 1,000 and the 2,000 this weekend. We've got Punchestown starting tomorrow. So it really is starting to hot up in the racing front. Even though it's been a kind of quiet couple of weeks, it should start to really kind of spin through now in terms of the racing.
Yeah, and to be fair, Punchestown behind closed doors, but a lot of not so much big fields in the grade ones over the first 2 days, the 6 grade ones, but really fascinating clashes. Obviously, mentioned Alaho, Shack and Poursois, Nubin Negre. You have Sir Gerhard taking on Kilcruise again in the bumper. Envoy Alain facing Monkfish with Rachel Blackmore riding. It's absolutely compelling stuff. Brilliant.
Kilcruise turns the form around, doesn't he, with Sir Gerhard?
I think so, yeah. I think so. And, you know, I think probably should have won at Cheltenham, to be fair. But then you have Vanillier and some of the Albert Bartlett horses come back. Essentially, and actually decent British presence in some of the first 2 days racing. It's just going to be brilliant stuff. Had very dry weather in Ireland, so I think it'll be like proper quickish ground by jump standards for this time of year. And it's just midweek stuff to savor, and you know, I guess a lot of people will be kind of coming back from work. The matinee kind of timing as well, which obviously was designed for people who could actually travel to the races. It'll just be nice kind of schedule to bring you into the evening and some brilliant racing ahead. I guess it'll be. Will you be doing any offers for the week, trying to encourage Punchestown customers? Or are you going to have a busy week in general?
I would have thought we will have a busy week. It's always a busy week up running to the Guineas, but then also obviously this fantastic jumps action. It's not quite on Cheltenham levels or Royal Ascot. Obviously the build-up isn't quite there, but it is still a very big week for us. We do have an offer, which is our pipped offer. So if you are beaten up to half a length, up to a length or less, you'll get a free bet up to £25. So there's a little offer to get stuck into there. I do also just want to plug something else very quickly, which is our talking race cards. So this is a initiative that we've kind of brought in, and it's a service we are now providing. So this has been launched for visually impaired racing fans. So we have a few customers who call up and bet over the phone because they are visually impaired, but we now offer a service where we have a recorded message of the racing event details and the odds at the time when they ring a certain number. So we'll be able to read out all of the race cards for that same day. They can select which one they want, and it'll give them the odds, the runners, the riders, the trainer, etc. So a real aid there for people that are visually impaired and they are really big fans of racing and can't read a race card. They can actually hear it when they do call up. So if they call the number 0808 169 9389, it's on the website and stuff like that, so you'll be able to see it there. But that's just a service that we have there, and then also off the back of that, you can direct yourself straight through to a Star Sports trader and speak to us here in the trading room, and then we can answer any more questions. So that's just something else we've got going on, just for the visually impaired racing fans trying to make it as accessible for everybody in the sport as possible.
Yeah, fantastic to mention that. And obviously a lot of visually impaired racing fans out there and visually impaired owners as well. Some memorable scenes from Cheltenham, obviously, in recent years in that regard, with regard to Paisley Park and Andrew Gamel. Just getting on to the football as well, obviously, Liverpool again turned over at short odds against Newcastle. God knows what they were and running. Manchester United didn't win either, albeit against Leeds. We obviously had the Carabao Cup. We had an interesting weekend of football action. How did it go for Star Sports?
Yeah, so just in terms of football results in general, draws tend to be good results for us because a lot of punters will obviously bet a team to win the match. So when there are draws in big games, that's normally a really good result for us. We've also got a new offer, which has encouraged people to kind of play the match winners. So we've got a 2 good offer. That is what it's called, 2 good. So we will pay you out as a winner if your team goes 2 goals up at any stage. So if you're betting in match winner markets, that is for certain leagues, kind of top class leagues. You'll find all the terms and conditions that apply on the website. But that has encouraged people to play your Liverpool, to play your Newcastles and stuff like that, rather than play the draw. So the draw in the Liverpool-Newcastle game was a great result. And the same in the Leeds-Man United game. That was also a fantastic result when we're seeing those draws. We did see a huge amount of money on the Carabao Cup, unfortunately. So a bit of a damn squid there with the 1-0 result. It could have been kind of 4 or 5 in the end.
Yeah.
So that's it kind of in terms of football for the weekend. It was a good weekend on the football. Draws were always a good result for us. I did just want to quickly talk about the top goal scorer market because that's going to reach its culmination very, very, very soon. Kane is now 4-5 there. Salah is 10-11, and Fernandes is 25-1. Just in terms of how many goals they're on, Harry Kane is on 21, Salah is on 20, and then Bruno Fernandes is back there on 16. So you would need a minor miracle to get Fernandes over the line. But if you wanted to play Kane or Salah and have an interest for the next few weeks anyway, there is something to get stuck into there. We've also still got next permanent manager betting for Spurs on site as well. I will just get the betting up so then I can have a quick spin through it here. But the money's with Sarri. So the ex-Chelsea man, Maurizio Sarri, is now 5-2. Julian Nagelsmann is 4-1. Santo is 6-1. Rafa Benitez 9-1. Then we're 10-1 bar there, and that 10-1 includes Ryan Mason, who's obviously the interim manager at the moment. So just one of the other markets to get us stuck into there in terms of football. But that would be it in terms of the last week, Johnny. A fairly quiet week, but we've got so much to look forward to this week. I just can't wait to get going. Can't wait for Punchestown to start. Can't wait to get to the Guineas.
Fantastic stuff, Jordan. And we will have a bumper show next week. We'll be able to talk about what happened at Punchestown and in the Guineas. Will this big Santa Barbara gamble be landed? And will the various gambles that are going on in the 2000 Guineas come off? Horse, you're looking forward to seeing most of Punchestown?
I'm looking forward to that champion chase you were speaking about, mainly because I'm excited to see how Alaho goes over that trip. And also, I want to see Minella Indo come out and back up the Gold Cup. Can he do it after that kind of real tough race? So those would be the 2 for me.
It's going to be a fascinating week. Thanks for listening to Trader Chat, and we should be back next week.